feel like we can run the table. I really do.
Giants looking for a stop. They're going to air it out. Rodgers does this better than anybody. End zone, Cobb, touchdown! Unbelievable! This to send the Packers into the NFC Championship game. It is good! The Packers are moving on! Aaron Rodgers has done it again!
Grossi Posse Packer Nation, welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you're not to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom Grossi. Thank you so much for tuning in, and boy, Packers fans, we're in for a rough game on Sunday. I got a feeling this is going to be a blowout, and it ain't going to be pretty, but before we get to that, I got a Steelers fan that we got to talk to who has the most incredible first name of all time, and that is Aaron. Aaron, thank you so much for joining us, and how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, man. And listen, I love when our teams play one another because they're usually a shootout. It's usually a great game. And when the schedule came out, I was really looking forward to this game because I thought we would have Aaron Rodgers at the helm. But now, I got to say I'm a little less confident in Sunday night's game.
Yeah, I would say that I am feeling for all you Packer fans out there.
Yeah.
We are definitely all one injury away from being the Browns.
Yeah, that's really the low point, isn't it? Like that's the bottom of the barrel. Like I get to talk to a Browns fan for the first time ever, and I have to say, like, I'm really looking forward to it because I just want to know what went wrong in their life to become a Browns fan.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that sentiment there. It is that is a rough way to live.
Yeah, it's a thankless job, and you really don't have any bright moments. But opposed to you guys, I mean, the Steelers are up there, with the Patriots, the Packers, the Cowboys, are those those storied franchises who have multiple Super Bowl wins. They're always in it. And so I want to ask you, before we get started with anything, of how you personally became a Steelers fan. Was it something that was kind of passed down through the family? Was it because of your location? How did you come to be a fan?
Well, I live in a town called Lancaster, Ohio, and it's right by Columbus. So we're right smack in between Cincinnati and Cleveland. But my dad was born near Morgantown, West Virginia, and he was always a Steelers guy, and that kind of rubbed off on me. But both of my brothers are Dallas fans.
Ooh, all right.
So they were betting my dad when they were in the Super Bowls in the late 70s.
All right. So Thanksgiving is a little bit awkward. We got some friendly family rivalries at the dinner table.
Oh yeah, we sure do.
Okay, that's great. So we'll take that. So kind of following a little bit from your dad, and you guys have had, I would say, a pretty darn good run. As a franchise, you guys are up there. You got, like I said before, you got multiple Super Bowl wins, and you have a franchise quarterback. You have one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. But that being said, I can't tell you how many times I heard this year, before the year began, that this was the year that Ben Roethlisberger was going to drop off. This is when we were going to start to see him decline. This is where we're going to start to see him falter, and we're going to look to the replacement of Ben Roethlisberger. So before we get into any of his stats, before we get into anything, what's your take on Ben? He's turning 36 next year, but he's playing pretty darn well. Would you agree?
I'd say he's playing well. He's, I think, 15 games straight with 200 yards. I think I saw that today. As long as he can stay healthy, and that seems to be the thing with Ben every year,
yeah,
is as long as he can stay healthy, I think we got a decent shot.
Yeah, because, I mean, the guy, I found that, in the NFL, when you're talking about, like, guys like Brett Favre, right, who play till they're 40 years old, Tom Brady not really dropping off. He's 40 years old as well. So like when you get to those late 30s, I feel like it's almost not as much of an issue anymore, and guys can play into their late 30s at a high level, whether it's because of strength and conditioning or whether it's just because, the game has gotten safer. But, when I'm looking at Ben's stats right now, for the past 3 years, he's been really close to 4,000 yards, if not over. 2014, the guy had almost 5,000 yards and was 32-9, 32 TDs and 9 picks. And he's been at this consistently high level. Last year, you guys are one injury away from going to the Super Bowl. And so now you're sitting at 8-2. I mean, are you thinking about like life after Ben Roethlisberger, or are you focused on like this guy can still play at least within like, the next 2 or 3 years?
I think we still think about it every year, but we tend to tell ourselves it ain't going to it's not going to happen this year. But we kind of wonder, who is going to be there to fill the shoes, because so far Landry Jones ain't getting it done.
No.
So,
yeah.
And the other guy that they just recently drafted from Tennessee, he really doesn't look like he's going to be getting it much done well either, at least for what I've seen of him so far.
Yeah. And I mean, your team in particular, last time I checked, I think you were like 18th ranked when it came to like, being the youngest team in the league. So you guys are in the older half of the league. And obviously you guys have had a lot of turnover, especially when it's defense. But you look at some of your weapons, like obviously Ben is going to turn 36 next year. Antonio Brown is going to be 30 next year. Where is your concerns when it comes to the age of your team? And that's not something that's often talked about. But obviously there's going to be a breaking point in which there needs to be a rebuilding season. And you guys, for the past 3 years, have been in the wild card, the divisional round, and then the conference championship. So it doesn't look like you guys are being impacted by your age in any way, shape, or form.
It doesn't look like it, but again, with the way that the NFL is and with these injuries, we're all just, one play away from being rough. And so far our age really hasn't shown, but James Harrison is definitely getting up there, and James Harrison is definitely not playing anywhere close to what he used to. So age is definitely, it's on our minds.
Yeah. And I mean, James Harrison is just a monster, though. Like that guy, like I feel like he never ages, but now, like you said, this year, it's starting to, I think it's starting to slow him down finally. But, your team has always been based around having like this smash mouth defense, right? And over the past few years, I would argue that your identity has changed, especially with guys like Antonio Brown, Martavius Bryant, Le'Veon Bell, into a more offensive style play. Are you okay with that? Do you think it's kind of losing the team's identity a bit, if this shift from defense to offense?
Well, it is a passing league, and they did get Todd Haley in there to spice up the offense. I'm still a big believer, and it don't matter, what you have. You got to run the ball to win the game. You got to have some sort of balance or some sort of running threat to open up the pass game to get things done. There is flashes of good defense, like when we played Tennessee, but I think that really fell on just Mariota just being a bad quarterback and not with all those interceptions we got. But there is some signs of our defense getting better. It's just I think we're just really young, and some of our defensive lines cannot stay healthy.
Yeah, I hear you. And I mean, you look at the guys who are consistent at the top of the league, and Le'Veon Bell is like you're talking about running the football. He's definitely like that guy. He's your workhorse. He's a ridiculous runner. He's efficient in the passing game. Obviously there was the bit of a drama in which, like, he was suspended last year. He was holding out this year. He came in a little bit late, missed training camp. What's your thoughts on Le'Veon Bell? Because obviously the guy is talented, obviously.
Well,
but what's your
he
take?
He is from Groveport Madison High School, which is literally 15 to 20 minutes away from where I live.
Yeah.
I've never met the guy, but he is a local guy from where I live. As long as, I'll put it this way, as long as he can keep his nose clean, and concentrate on the things he needs to concentrate on, I think we should give him the money. At the beginning of the season, I was not a big fan, especially when he came back, and he just looked terrible.
Yeah.
And I get it, there's some rust, but when you're a football player, these are the things you got to put into consideration, because not only are you trying to get money from the team that you're currently signed to, but you're also auditioning for all those other teams that want to try to give you that big payout.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, do you think that there's any chance that Le'Veon Bell, leaves the Pittsburgh Steelers anytime soon?
I don't believe so, but that's going to be all up to money, and money talks.
Yeah.
But I think the Steelers are a great organization, and I think you'd be stupid not to stay around.
Yeah, I mean, especially as we're talking about, I mean, he's still a young guy. The guy obviously has shown his ability to be that workhorse, and I can't imagine him on another team, but after what I saw this year, I also wouldn't entirely be surprised, because he's going to be demanding a ton of money. And so I think, like you said, it's all going to come down on if the Steelers are willing to pay for him. And so you also have to look at it this way, that if we're talking about Ben Roethlisberger's eventual replacement, you don't want to replace a potential number one wide receiver in Antonio Brown, a quarterback, and a running back. That's a really difficult thing to try to do.
No, I completely agree with you. And the thing is with Le'Veon Bell, he is not only just an amazing running back, he's also, I would say, a pretty darn good wide receiver, too.
Yeah.
I think, as I said in the beginning of this season, I was just like skeptical. I was like, I don't think they should pay him. He's looking, he just doesn't look right. And now at this point of the season, I'm all about giving that man his payday.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely earning his paycheck this year. And I mean, it might be one of those things that, your team right now is 8-2. Right, you're tied with the Pats for the best record in the AFC. They're obviously, in my opinion, are going to be your biggest competition in the AFC. And I have to say, last year that you guys, you got a really bad break, and that you guys really, really should have gone to the Super Bowl. And it also could have happened the year prior as well. And so what do you think has changed this year that is going to allow you to get over that hump? As we were talking about, you've kind of like gone up the ladder each year with the wild card in 14, then in 15 with the divisional, and last year with the conference championship. What's going to be the factor? What do you have this year on this team that's going to get you to the Super Bowl, in your opinion?
I think a healthy Le'Veon Bell and healthy Ben should definitely help with those plans in the future. But we're all just one. Again, as I said before, it seems to be the theme. We're all just one play away.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, talking to a Packers fan, I understand completely the idea of the importance of health. And so right now, when you're looking ahead in the AFC, besides the Patriots, does anybody else stick out? Because the AFC is usually regarded as being a little bit of a weaker division. I mean, you guys are always up there. The Ravens are there every now and then. You do have the Patriots, of course. Who stands out to you as being your biggest competition come playoff time?
Well, I know these multiple games where you revisit opponents in the playoffs for the second time, they usually do not turn out the way you want them to. But Kansas City, even though they haven't looked great last week, I think they're still a team to be reckoned with. Jacksonville, somehow, they're tying it together.
Yep.
With what they're doing. Even though it's not pretty, a win's a win. I would say those two are the other two that I'm really, concerned with this part of the season. Even though we're over halfway now, there's still a lot of games that are going to decide, these teams in the AFC and how good they really are. Because it still seems like it's really uncertain at this point.
Yeah, I think it's completely up in the air. And you bring up somebody like the Jaguars, who are 7-3, and the reason they are is Fournette's been playing well, but you also, I mean, I know he's been injured, but that defense has just looked amazing. And when you're talking about teams like the Raiders, for example, when they're being touted as being the next team to hit the Super Bowl or like go deep into the playoffs, they've been underwhelming. But then again, like you said with the Chiefs, they're losing to the Giants. So I think this season in particular has been incredibly unpredictable, especially when you're trying to be like, okay, here are the guys who are going to be in it at the end. But you guys are definitely on your way there, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see you guys, or well, we won't see you, but the Steelers are in the conference championship or in the Super Bowl. But I want to talk about real quick. A few years ago, a little bit of a big Super Bowl, Super Bowl 45. Both of our teams' last trip to the Super Bowl, right? Now, going into that game, what are your thoughts going up against Aaron Rodgers, a team that got really hot, that wasn't going to make the playoffs, but got hot at the right time and are going up against you guys? Were you confident going into that game, or was there a little bit of these guys are clicking at the right time?
Well, I had high hopes going into that game, and I had a buddy of mine, and he told me Aaron Rodgers was going to dissect your guys' secondary like a lab rat.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what's this guy? I don't know what he's talking about. But lo and behold, it happened. And Aaron Rodgers is a beast. He is just a phenomenal quarterback, and he's the best. I think he's really the best in the NFL at slinging the ball. I really do. No one can touch him when it comes to slinging the football. And he showed it in that Super Bowl.
Yeah, I mean, because it's interesting because a lot of Packer fans I talk to feel like 2010, Rodgers he's not in the league for that long, at least as the starter. And I feel like, at least this is my opinion, that the Packers, like, they won a Super Bowl early. Like, that wouldn't be the year. If I had to point to the year in the last 5 of them for them to win a Super Bowl, I probably wouldn't have pointed to 2010. But like you said, like, Rodgers was on fire. He was clicking. You got guys like Jennings. You got guys like Jordy Nelson, and they were able to get it done. But that being said, both of our teams have not returned to the Super Bowl since. And we've had that issue with both of us that we've gotten painstakingly close. And so in the past 5 years, what can you identify as reasons of why your team hasn't made it back to the Super Bowl?
Weak secondary and a lack of consistency on running the ball. And then part of that also was with injuries, but I would say more than anything, our secondary was hot garbage for a while there. And, if you can't, guard against the pass, then you're going to be exposed.
Yeah. Was there any thought, and I actually don't know because I don't know that many Steelers fans, Mike Tomlin, what is our stance on this guy? I mean, again, I think he's a phenomenal coach, but that's an outsider looking in. Has there ever been, because there's been plenty of talk about us firing our defensive coordinator, there's been talk about firing Mike McCarthy, there's been talk about firing Ted Thompson. What about you and Mike Tomlin and the coaching staff? Is your fan base are you completely and totally behind him because of your past successes, or are we looking past him as well?
There's some fans out there, and I use this term loosely, fans that think that Tomlin needs to go and aren't really amazed with what he does. I don't buy into any of that. I think Tomlin is basically the type of guy that he's rare.
Yeah.
Just how he handles the game and how he approaches the game, and really, he seems to be doing it. I think he's doing a great job.
Yeah, I think he's delivering, and I mean, the play calls seem there. You have all the pieces. And so that being said, let's do the season outlook before we get to this Sunday. So obviously this Sunday, I think I know which way it's going to go. But past that game, what are your predictions for the rest of the season? Do you think that this is a team that's finally ready to go to the Super Bowl? Do you see, yourselves running into the Patriots again and them giving you some problems? What's your season outlook for the rest of the year?
Well, I think it looks pretty good for the most part. Some of those divisional games can get a little scrappy, but I don't think a lot of these teams that are in our division that we have left to play look very good. But that also comes to us having a game plan and executing it as well. So,
yeah,
with the Patriots, I'm not sold on them. They're great. I'm not doubting that, but their secondary looked pretty rough and it's looked better.
Yeah.
But I'm still not sold on them. But it will be a game. If it does come to, it's going to be a good. It's going to be a game.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if there's a year that the Patriots look vulnerable, it might be this year because their defense, which is usually like that bend don't break mentality, has been breaking. Even though they're 8-2, don't get me wrong, they have been breaking a little bit more. And so it's going to be interesting to see where they're able to go with that. But I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if you have an AFC Championship game with the Steelers and the Patriots. It feels like that's what it feels like. I feel like that's what we're all leading to.
Yeah, I'm not too sure. I don't think we play them in the regular season, do we?
I don't believe so. I'll double check. But yeah, I don't think it's happening.
Yeah, I was getting ready to check too. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I got a guy at work, and he's a big Patriots guy, and I get to hear about it all the time. Every day I come into work, I get to hear about the Patriots. And
you actually
are
playing.
I'm buying that.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, that's what
playing.
I thought. It's going to be what, in like 3 or 4 weeks?
Yeah, it's December 17th, so that actually might decide who gets home field advantage in the AFC.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought there was a possibility. I thought we were going to play this, but I couldn't completely remember. But yeah, that'll definitely be a heck of a game to see. That'll be good.
Yeah, one of the things I want to touch on real quick is, in the beginning of this season, I know that this has been talked about, and even you saw in the Colts game that the Steelers are obviously a very different team when they're on the road as opposed to playing at home. But like, it's a really big difference. And so, like, can you explain it to me, like, why they look like a completely different team when they're not playing in Pittsburgh?
My assumptions. Now, granted, I did not get to the Colts game, but my assumptions are there's usually a lack of running the ball. And even I saw this in the Titans game. I was just like, we have Le'Veon Bell, use him. And I think a lot of that, I don't know if it's just because we're just overthinking or overcomplicating things, but there's just times where I'm just like, where's the run?
Yeah.
Where is the run?
Yeah. All right, that makes sense. I could take that. Yeah, and I mean, looking ahead, I think you guys you're gonna go deep this year. I was actually really looking forward to, if Rodgers didn't get hurt, a potential Super Bowl 45 rematch in Minnesota. I would have very much liked to see that. But getting to Sunday's game, oh God, we just got shut out by the Ravens, who I know. Listen, I talked to 2 Ravens fans last week, and they do not like your team in any way, shape, or form. And I'm sure the feeling is mutual.
I'm not a big Ravens guy, or also known as the Ratbirds, but really in this day and age, I don't think the Ravens are much competition. Cincinnati has got my number right now. Since what happened in that playoff game, was that last year where we had the knockout of Antonio Brown? And Perfect he's an interesting individual. He's a hell of a football player, but Cincinnati's on my crap list.
All right.
Ravens are low on my radar. I'm not worried about them. I think Joe Flacco is overrated. So there, I said it.
Yeah, we talked about that last week and how he never has been like an elite guy. But I mean, even when the Ravens playing the Packers, I mean, they had 5 turnovers. They did not look fantastic.
Flacco's good at throwing the ball really deep and praying either he gets a PI call or one of his players luckily catches it. Other than that, he got lucky that year.
Yeah. Listen, sometimes it's just you get hot at the right time and you play the right people. And as you know, like that could be the entire difference. So looking at this Sunday, give me your honest take on what you see happening with this game, because I'm telling you, I'm thinking blowout. And I usually think that the Packers are in every single game, but we're playing you guys at home. Brett Hundley couldn't score a single point last week. I'm thinking blowout. I'm going to be missing Aaron Rodgers on Sunday.
What's the weather forecast look like on Sunday?
Last time I checked, it was supposed to be cold, but let's see. Let's see what we got. A 38 degrees.
Okay, no inclement weather, so just 38.
Yeah, 38, and then a low of 28. So it'll be normal weather for Packers fans.
Well, if we're able to execute what we can do, and are you wanting a prediction here?
Yeah, let's give a prediction. I feel like
Okay.
we're gonna get blown out, but what do you got?
Well, I feel like it's probably going to be. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think the Packers will come prepared, but they're not going to be competitive throughout the whole game. I'm going to lowball it and probably say 31-17.
All right, you know what, Aaron, I have to say, your optimism of us scoring 17 points is very refreshing. I don't know if we're going to be able to do it.
I'm a little optimistic when it comes to my Steelers. When I'm not going to be bragging it up and being like, oh, we're going to smoke them, because it can happen any game. It just depends on how things how the ball bounces sometimes.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I definitely hear you. Well, Aaron, I want to wish you luck on the rest of the season. I hope you guys are able to go far. I hope you stay healthy, most importantly, because it's not fun losing a franchise quarterback. But I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and good luck on the rest of the season.
No, thank you very much, and hopefully your Cannon will be back to his normal self, taking down the rest of the NFC next year.
That hurts to say. Like next year, maybe next year, Tom. Yeah, that's painful, but it's
the Browns have been saying it for how long now? So you don't have, at least have that going for you.
That is very true. But Aaron, have a fantastic evening. Have a great rest of the season, and I'll talk to you soon.
Yep. Thank you very much.
Take care, bud.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. That was Aaron, our Steelers fan. Aaron with the fantastic name. I want to thank his parents for bestowing a great name upon him. But yeah, guys, I'm sorry to be so pessimistic, but Sunday Night Football against the Steelers with Brett Hundley. Who knows? Maybe something crazy will happen. But sitting at 5-5, we really need to win this game, and I don't know if it's going to happen. But who knows? We'll see. Anything could happen any given Sunday. You could always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com, TomGrossi Comedy, or Tom Grossi Comedy on Twitter. Check out Packcast, Packast, which is this podcast. We're on Google Play Music, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, twice a week. Every week we interview fans from the opposing team, and we're also doing predictions episodes on Saturday. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy this week's matchup. Packers fans, make sure you have lots of alcohol on hand. I'm Tom Grossi, and as always, go Pack Go.